I'm not going to stand in front of this podium majority of the time, but also I don't know if it'll echo. So thank you very much for the introduction. Hopefully you all are in the right room. This is the Bystander Intervention Masterclass on the how-to track. So if you're not in the right room, it's okay, you can stay. No one will fault you, but also feel free to, if you need to move, stretch, use the restroom, do that as you need to. Also, sorry for you all that are having to sit on the floor, but so glad that you're here because this is probably the biggest room I've had in a while, so shout out to y'all. All right, so we are going to use every single minute of the time that we have together, so I am probably going to move us along just so that we don't go into our next session's time. So my name is Karla Talley. As they said, I am, let's see if I can do this right. No, green, oh, okay. Green button, that would make sense, it's like right in the middle. Okay, so I'm Karla Talley. Really the only things you need to know about me is that I work at Digitas. I love my job. Shout out to all my Digitas peeps in the room. I have been facilitating conversations like this for quite a while now, and I love ice cream. And I'm also super nerdy about budgeting, so I do have a budgeting blog. Quick plug, you can find it. I seriously love talking about budgeting. So you can go to karlatalley.com. It has a link to my budget, budgeting my coins. It's cool. All right, so we're gonna keep going. All right, so rules of engagement for today. We are going to follow the what's said here stays here, but what's learned here leaves here. So you all are going to be interacting with each other a lot. You are not going to be hearing from me today. So if you are here to absorb, sorry, not sorry. This is not the session for you. But you will be learning so much today and interacting with each other. But people will be sharing some personal things probably with you. So want you to lean into that vulnerability for a little bit and go ahead and get to know your neighbors, which we'll be doing in a second. And then this is not in any way centered on or to perpetuate negativity. So we will be talking about some difficult things today, but we are not going to stay there. We are going to move on from that and be happy later on, because I promise you this is also fun. It's fun. Like, I'm so serious, it's fun. Okay. All right, so I don't even have to tell you, last 3 years, they've been crappy. This morning, terrible. So just want to put out there that I know that a lot of us have very heavy hearts this morning with, again, another shooting that happened in California. And I woke up this morning and I honestly was like, what the fudge? Like, again. So just want to throw that there are a ton of other headlines that are not on here. But everything that's basically been happening really has been tearing us apart. No matter where you are on the political spectrum or just in feelings, we know that there is a lot of hate running rampant around not just around the U.S. but also around the country. So in a lot of instances, there are times where we can, go with the go along, but these are times that really we can't. So you're going to be having a lot of conversations with people around the water cooler, at work, talking about all the happenings that are going on in the world. And that is all good and dandy, but sometimes you're having those conversations with people who know you and who love you and care for you. And then other times you're having conversations with people who don't know or like you or care for you and don't know your intentions. And so a lot of the times being able to be silent with conversations that are harmful or not is just not okay. And so really the Bystander Intervention Masterclass is all about being able to mitigate a lot of the toxic and harmful conversations that do happen inside and outside of our work walls and at home and with family. Because there'll be a lot of those instances where, yes, you are having, that great debate with family and friends, as I said, but other times it will be okay, that was super inappropriate, and I need you to kind of check yourself and do better. And so we're gonna learn how to do that. So I'm reading this because I feel like I just missed something. All right, nope, I didn't, so I'm gonna keep going. All right, so that's great, Karla, but what's a bystander? So a bystander is a person who is present or witnesses an event or incident, but is not taking part in it. So the really important piece of that is that there is no action in this word, in being a bystander. So it's very much you're there. So in a very Chicago example, if you haven't been downtown yet and you're not from Chicago, don't worry, you will see it before you leave. So if you are walking down Michigan Ave and you see the bucket boys drumming on their buckets and there's a crowd growing and you're walking up, you're a bystander to that, right? You're just watching the bucket boys. They're great. If you haven't seen them, walk down Michigan Ave, you'll see them you'll see or hear them in about 2 minutes. So you're seeing them, you're a bystander. However, if you are in the company kitchen grabbing something, a snack or something to eat, and you hear someone say, I'm going to use my colleague, and you overhear someone saying something to Nikki about what Nikki's wearing in a not great way, that's not the time to be silent or to be inactive, right? Because you're like, what the heck? Why are you talking? And Nikki's probably sitting there feeling really uncomfortable, right? So that's where the action comes in, that we need people and spaces to be okay to take that action. So did I hit it? So that's why we need to go from being literally a bystander to an active bystander. So a lot of people are calling active bystander an upstander now, or stepping in, stepping up, whatever it might be. I just call it being an active bystander. So really, we're going to do that today by using the 4 Ds. So you do have a cheat sheet on your table. Sorry, there is definitely not enough for everybody who's in this room. Everybody always tells me that there's gonna be more people than I expect, and I'm like, no, today is definitely one of those days, so sorry for all of you who don't have a sheet in the back. But we'll be using the 4 Ds. So the 4 Ds are direct, distract, delegate, delay. So I need you all to say those with me. Direct, distract, delegate, delay. It's like a song. One more time. Direct, distract, delegate, delay. Okay, cool. So we'll be using those and getting into them a little bit more in just a second. So becoming an active bystander really can't happen without us being able to notice harm that's happening around us. So we very much notice harm dependent upon who we are as individuals and our own identities. And so when we're thinking about identity as a marginalized person, whether that's Black, brown, a woman, differently abled, anything of those sorts, a lot of those times we can see harm happening at a lot of different places, right? Because it's happening to one of our own identities in a very present way, in a very vocal way. But most of the time, more negative often gets placed on a lot more of our visible identities. So if you are differently abled, if you're in a wheelchair, or your age and being treated differently in that way, or if you're a Black person, or if you're a brown person, whatever that might be. And sometimes you feel too visible, or or you feel invisible, the exact opposite. Or maybe you're experiencing a microaggression, or someone is physically aggressing you, or aggressing you. So there's a lot of ways that feels, and so many assume that just because someone is visibly marginalized in some way, or visibly, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of. Marginalized, we'll go back to marginalized. If you're visually marginalized, that you're somehow more woke than others, that you know what's going on with others, that you see harm more easily. And that's not always the case, right? Okay, I'm gonna hop down because the light is directly in my face. And it's really awkward. That's why I keep looking around. I'm like, I can't see anyone. So I'm just gonna move back and forth this way. All right, so a lot of people think that because you have one of those visual identities that it's easier for you to notice harm, and people think that you're more woke. But that is not the truth, and that can actually be really harmful for people, right? Because I'm a Black person, I automatically notice when someone is being homophobic, or when someone is being racist to another identity that's not Black or not African American. And that's just not the case, right? Because I may not hold that identity, so I may not always notice what's going on. And so really we're going to work towards being able to notice harm that is happening to others, because we want to talk about what our identities are that we notice every day so that we can start being like, oh yeah, the person next to me probably thinks about something else all around, and I may not be thinking about that. So oh, thank you. Y'all are the best. It was really bright. Okay, so we are going to talk about some of our identities to be able to think about that, because it's really important, right? We're just opening our lenses to be able to think about what are the identities that I'm not really thinking about, so that I can notice if something harmful is happening to someone else. So this is definitely not an exhaustive list of identities. So we have race, ethnicity, age, religion, body size, parent or caregiver, sexual orientation, nationality, ability, and that can be physical or mental ability, socioeconomic status, gender, or veteran status. So I know that for myself, yes, I work in diversity and inclusion work, so I think about these things all of the time. I want to say that before I tell you about things that I don't think about often, because I love my job and I think I do it pretty well. So I don't want you to think that I don't think about these things. But on my everyday journey, right, I don't have to think about a lot of these things on the list. So something that I do think about quite often, switch up for people who have seen this before, for my colleagues who've seen it, because I thought of a different example. I often think about age a lot recently. So not because I feel quite youthful, it's actually because it has been very in my face lately, millennial bashing. And so that's kind of like reverse ageism. And I don't think that people recognize that half of the people talking about millennials are millennials themselves. And it's really bothering me. I'm like, y'all, I've literally wanted to yell in the middle of a thing, you're a millennial. I know how old you are. Millennials are like 37 to 22. That's like everybody. People are like, oh, millennials, we talk about them like they're high school age or like they're interns. And I'm like, nah, we've hired in majority of millennials. Like, millennials are here. You're usually talking about Gen Z. Gen Z's great. Millennials also great. There are also different sects of millennials, because I still remember dial-up. I remember not having a computer in my home. And some of my other millennials don't remember that. So I think that we just need to get, this is clearly a personal plug for myself. We need to get a little bit more specific about who we're talking about, but it's been really present for me lately, because I'm trying to work through not having like my own millennial angst of like, oh, everybody hates us, but then everybody keeps telling me how much they hate us. Like, it's a lot. So it's been in front of my face a lot lately. But something that I don't have to think about often at all is nationality. So as a US citizen, I can easily go vote. I can have those conversations, and I can have the ability to go do that. I can fill out paperwork and just check boxes and keep it moving. And a lot of my friends don't have that right or ability to do so. And that's even so when I'm applying for jobs. One of my really good friends this past year has been in his job for over a year, almost the same amount of time as I have, but he was going back through the lottery process, and there was about a 3-week span where he thought that he was going to have to pack up everything and move back to Singapore, because he was like, I don't know if I'm going to get through the process. And his company is great, and they had lotteries and all of those things, but he was just like, yeah, might have to move because this one piece of paper didn't get filed correctly and all of that. And that's just not something that, sorry, I'm going to do that a lot. It's just something that I don't have to think about very often. So before you all turn to each other, we're gonna do something that I like to call the Black church greeting. If you have not been to particularly a Baptist church, you're about to go right now. So I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to say, neighbor. Yep, you don't have to say it like that, but you say neighbor. And then I want you to say, oh, neighbor. And then I just want you to go ahead and introduce yourselves really briefly, and then I want you to answer these 2 questions. So which of these identities do you think about a lot, and which do you not think about as often? I will go back to the list. I'm going to give you all 2.5 minutes, and I can do it this time and not even making up in my head because there's a clock down here. So I want you to take the next 2.5 minutes, introduce yourself to your neighbor. I'm going to remind you in the middle to switch so that your neighbor can also talk, and just talk about, it gets real. And I want you to talk about these identities, what you think of. Also, it is okay if you are looking at this list and you're like, I do not have to think about any of these on a regular day. That is perfectly fine. Do not be ashamed to share that. Also, if you're like, I think about this whole daggone list, then you think about the whole list. Talk about why. Talk about if you get to talk about that at work or not in just your everyday life, all right? All right, turn to your neighbor. All right, okay, so 2 things that I forgot to tell you all before we started. One, since we are talking about real things, I am not a licensed therapist, and this is not, and being for real, and this is not in substitution for therapy or counseling in any way. So if something does come up for you, I do want you to use the resources and benefits that you have at your corresponding companies, use them vividly, and talk to someone. I love therapy. I didn't get to talk about it earlier because I switched which stuff I was sharing with y'all, but I love therapy. Do it. Also, I am not legal, so I cannot consult with you on how to do anything because I don't know. So, so if anything does pop up and I have to table it, please know that I'm doing it out of love of my heart, and we can talk after about how I can put you in touch with your legal department. Okay, so we do not have a walk-around mic. And normally I am super opposed to this, but I know, oh, snap, just kidding. My people in the back got them. Ronnie, thank you. This is Ronnie Dickerson Stewart, my boss. You all, please give her a round of applause. She is amazing. Thank you, friend. Zuli, can I have you grab the other one too, just in case we have someone on the other side? This is Zuli. Miles, Zuli is finding Digitas potential unicorns while we are here. So if you would like to work at Digitas, please talk to Zuli or any of my friends over on the side. All right, so I told you all that I'm not going to talk to you all the entire time. So forgot to tell you, you're going to share now. So I would love to hear from someone about an identity that they think about often or that they don't think about often at all. Your choice for first person. So just go ahead and raise your hand and we will walk over with the mic. Yeah, thank you. I was like, y'all, I told you I used to work with college students. Like, I can wait all day. Literally all day.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going? One that I think about a lot is gender. I technically am non-binary, so I'm part of the trans community, and it kind of feels a little weird in workplaces sometimes because there's the whole bathroom situation, and I tend to dress a little bit more fun.
Fluid?
Thank you. Fluid, yes. So thankfully, my office I work at is very accepting of it, and my partner here. But one I don't really think about is parents and caregivers. I never really thought of that as like part of an identity.
Because that's not your everyday, right?
No.
So thank you for sharing that very much. So non-binary, for those of you, yes, y'all are such a great room. Clap for people. So non-binary, for those of you who don't know, is just someone who does not identify within the 2 binary of gender. So man, woman, just more so fluid. And so just wanted to put that out there. And then also, I think that's so your everyday, right? Choosing bathrooms, especially if you're leaving your office space where you kind of know a little bit better, choosing bathrooms, whatever it might be. I know that I don't have to think about that often, and that is something that I do think about, though, when I do go into spaces, especially at conferences, when I know some conferences will do gender-inclusive restrooms or will not, and then people still stopping me and being like, you're in the wrong, and I'm like, I can go in any bathroom that I want to. But, people are still, we have it in that we're socialized to think a certain way. And not being a parent or caregiver, it sometimes until someone brings up their child, you don't have to think about it every day. I don't have a child, and so until I'm seeing an adorable photo of Ronnie's child, I'm usually like, oh yeah, kids, they're right. So yeah, it's kind of, you don't think about. So thank you for sharing both. Also, let's get another something that you don't think about or do think about. We got one over in here. Saw a hand pop up quick. Yep.
I work here on a visa. I've been here for 10 years, but like you said, my situation is as volatile as a piece of paper, which means that I've gotten married here, I have a child here, I have a house here, I've built my career here, but tomorrow I would have to go back. and everything that I've ever worked for. I think about that every day, but it's not something that everybody can relate to. So if you're a brown person, if you're from India, it could take 20 years for you to live here forever. It's something that it's almost like, will I show up to the meeting tomorrow, or would I have to pack my bags and leave? And if I leave for a vacation, would I ever come back? It's a situation that is so big, yet so small, because that's the only thing on my mind all the time, but that's the only thing that I don't talk about, because it's hard to relate to. That's something that I think about every day. It clouds me. It's not an everyday decision, but it does cloud my thinking. Something that is also strange that I think about more is that I think gender is a bigger challenge for me than my ethnicity. It's so strange. I keep saying it. I don't think I'm discriminated as a person of color in this industry, but I do feel that gender is a bigger one. So that says a lot about our industry.
Yeah, thank you for sharing both of those. Thank you for being so vulnerable about that as well. We actually were having a conversation in the Chicago office recently around, basically it was an immigration conversation that we have a program called Brave Space, and one of our colleagues was talking about how he doesn't know if he even wants to start a family or not because of the visa process, and would he need to leave and all of that, and just I think that those are layers that so many of us don't have to think about on a day-to-day, and we don't know that the person sitting right next to us, right, is potentially stressing or having anxiety about that. In a lot of ways, that isn't something that you should just have to hold on your shoulders, because it does impact all of us, right? Whether it's, just as a friend or colleague, but also that does impact the bottom line. Like, people are, if people have to get up and leave the next day, like, one, that's outrageous, what the fudge, and then two, it's just like, how do we pick back up from someone who is doing such a great job and then we lose them because of, honestly, a piece of paper. So thank you very much for thinking about that. And the gender thing, like, popping up for you, very interesting, because for me, I have a complete swap of that. So gender for me lately hasn't been a thing, but of colorness has been a very strong thing, and I actually don't usually talk about it, and today I really couldn't, because I had to do a back and forth of like, do I want to talk about that? No, I don't, because I don't want to cry in front of this room. Because I was like, not today. I had to call my friend. She was like, no, because you cry. I cry a lot. And I was like, you're right, I'm not going to do it.
I'm already crying.
I'm just like, I'm a crier. I'll be like happy, cry, sad, cry, angry, cry. But when I stop crying, my dad was like, y'all better watch out. So thank you all for those shares. I know that we have a ton more to share, but we have limited time. So we're going to keep going. All right. So on this next one, when we are thinking about identity and what we notice and don't notice, I'm sure a lot of the shares that we got, people probably are like, oh, I never think about that at all. Or maybe I wouldn't notice that on a day-to-day. And there's a lot of things that you would notice. And so that's why it's important for us to talk about these, because we can't interrupt harm. We can't interrupt negativity that's happening without being able to notice it. And that's where the 4 Ds come in, and being able to interrupt harm. So the 4 Ds, again, are direct, distract, delegate, delay. So we have direct, and that's intervening in the moment to stop harm from happening. So that can sound anything from, whoa, what you just said was really sexist. Let's unpack that for a second. Why'd you say that? Or it could be a question. So when people say terrible things and they're like, you know what I'm saying? You can be like, no, what are you saying? That's a direct, because you're intervening and you're saying, I want you to marinate on the terrible thing that you just said and think about it and never say it again without even saying all of that. But obviously you can't do that all the time. It might be your boss. It might be your grandpa. For me, it's usually my papa, but I can't directly intervene. So we have other ones, because clearly there's not just the do something or not do anything, because there's 4 Ds. So hopefully you're catching on. 4 things to do. All right, so then we have distract. So taking attention away from the situation at hand. That can easily be, I say, food, something to drink, water. Everybody's like, I'm always hungry, I always need something to drink. So if somebody is talking before a meeting or after a meeting, and they say something that starts off, I don't mean to be racist, but, and we know nothing good comes after that but, you can say something like, I don't mean to be racist, but, and then intervene. Oh my goodness, you know what? I think I left my clicker in the other room. Can you come help me find it? And take whoever away from that moment. But in that moment, we're not learning, right? Like that person doesn't know that what they were about to say actually was racist. So that's why we have some other ones that you can throw in. So I didn't do that, y'all. I just want you to know. Delegate, I'm like, this looks terrible. I want y'all to know that I care about my slides. So delegate is talking with someone to figure out the best way to intervene and who would be the best person to do so. So I am a huge proponent of delegate. It's my favorite one. Ronnie will tell you. I love it. Not because it's taking the ownership off of me, but because it's easier for me to talk with someone about how to intervene in something harmful that happened, go through how I could talk about it with that person, and then also see if I am the right person to intervene. Because sometimes being especially a Black woman, everybody isn't gonna hear everything from me that I need them to hear. I can't usually go tell a white person that they're being racist. Or it may be hard for men to hear from another woman that they're being sexist, so I'll ask one of my best guy friends to do it, or whatever it might be. It's an easier way to figure out if there's some hierarchicalness in there, if there's an authority imbalance that's going on, using basically who you have around you to be able to do this. And then we have delay, which is checking in later with the person or persons who were harmed or did the harm. So it's really just, hey, I heard that comment in the meeting. I want you to know I felt really uncomfortable, wanted to check in with you and see if you're okay. Or vice versa, you said something really harmful. I think it made people in the room uncomfortable, and I kind of want to know, like, I know that you don't want to hurt anyone, so kind of just want to talk to you about that and then figure out if that person can go talk to the other people. So something not trademarked yet, you can use it, but tell people where you got it. The combo meal, you can use any of these at any time. So sometimes direct isn't gonna work and the person didn't hear it. So you need to do a delegate or delay later on. You need to do a distract, but you want the person to understand that what they said was harmful or hurtful. So just knowing that you can use any of these and it can be really impactful and hurtful. And sometimes, y'all, people don't learn, and you have to be okay with that. If you tried all of the D's and it still didn't work, it happens. And at least you tried, okay? Because it's hard. All right, so I'm about to speed along. Didn't tell you all at the beginning. You're gonna do some acting. All right, so does anyone watch, what show? I'll think of it in a second. Anyways, all right, so I need 3 people who would like to make their acting debut. I'm literally going to turn around for 3 seconds and I'm just gonna let you walk on up here. None of my colleagues are going to walk up here until I'm like, okay, I need y'all to walk up here. But I seriously need 3 people. I give you your lines so it is easy and you don't really have to improv. So, all right, 3 people, come on up. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Oh! Okay. This is awesome. All right. So I'm going to let you all read your lines while you're doing this. Okay. So, yes, read ahead of time. You all can use your actual names if you want to. Sorry, y'all. I'll be right back. Okay. So read your lines to yourself because 1 or 2 of y'all are jerks. And I know that you don't mean this. And then just get ready for what you're gonna say. And then I'm gonna tell them what they're gonna do. So just get ready. Yes. Oh, yes, thank you, Zuli. Okay, so here's another mic. Whoever wants to hold, whoever's person one. Okay, so what they are going to do in a second, they are going to run through these lines in front of you. They did not think of these things. Yes, I sat at a desk and typed them out. I'm a terrible person, not them. No, I'm just kidding. So this is something that really could have happened at your job. This is something that you may have said or thought before. Please do not stop yourself there.
I want a prop.
Oh, okay. I was about to be like, you don't get to opt out of acting. You already came over.
My stage direction.
Thank you for the, yes.
I might have gotten a theater degree.
Oh, see, there's always at least one in the crowd. All right, so they're going to go through it. Like I said, if you have said or thought any of these things, please do not put up a wall. You're learning right now that it's not okay, and we're gonna learn how to make it better for people and how to not let a situation like this happen. All right? So they're going to go through it from the top. Then they're going to go through it a second time. And on the second time, not the first time, y'all, on the second time, you're going to say stop when you see harm happening, and we're going to figure out which of the 4Ds we want to use to intervene in the situation. Cool? First time, don't say stop, y'all. Okay? People get excited. All right. And action.
I'm not even surprised. Seriously?
What's up? Why the frustration?
Ha, you must have read the email from Janice.
How does she expect to be out for 2 weeks when we're still onboarding the new client? Personal time doesn't even exist during times like this.
Well, I'm sure she took that into account, so it must be needed or important. I'm sure she'll make sure we have everything we need from her before she goes.
Right, important, uses air quotes. I did hear she had a breakdown last year, so maybe she's going to see her shrink. But seriously, if you can't handle the pressure, this job isn't for you.
Insane.
This is me cringing.
All right, great job. So they're going to go through it for a second time. I want you all to be thinking about the 4Ds at this time. However, everyone always chooses direct for intervene. I know that's not how some of y'all would act in this moment, because I know it's not how I would either. So I want you to push yourself when I do ask you for which one that you would choose, all right? But that's not what we're doing right now. They're gonna go through it one more time, and I want you to say stop when you're witnessing harm happen, okay? Do we need to practice stop, or are we good with, we're gonna say it from our diaphragm? Okay, all right, from the top.
Seriously? I'm not even surprised.
What's up? Why the frustration?
Ha, you must have read the email from Janice.
How does she expect to be out for 2 weeks when we're still onboarding this new client? Personal time doesn't even exist during times like this.
All right, heard some stops. Why do we say stop there? Personal time is personal time. Hello, stamp on that. We don't even need to go any further. Personal time is personal time. You don't have to tell anybody why you're going anywhere, just so y'all know. All right, we're gonna keep going because I know you all wanna say stop in other places.
I'm sure she took that into account. It must be needed or important. I'm sure she'll make sure we have everything we need before she goes.
Right, important.
All right, I know why I said stop there. We're gonna keep going.
I did hear she had a breakdown last year.
Stop. All right, why would we say stop here? I heard you. It's about mental health. Personal medical information. Illegal a little bit. Wait, what? I'm sorry. No, you're good. Just say it one more time. You don't need to spill someone's tea. Right? All the tea. You dumped the whole cup over. Why do you have Janice's cup in your hand, right? Like, you're a thief, one, and also you know every single ounce of tea that Janice put in her cup. Not okay, right? We're talking about someone's mental health, not with them. Why do you know about Janice's breakdown last year? Why are you talking about it like that? Clearly, y'all been talking about this in the office. There's so many of the things, right? So many of the things that are happening in this moment. Okay, so we all know this is not okay to be talking about. If Janice had a breakdown last year, that's Janice's business. And if Janice wants to take care of herself this year, first of all, you don't know, Janice might be going to kick it on an island somewhere. Let Janice have Janice's personal time. But anyways, okay, so who's the bystander in this situation? We have, what's your name?
Mega.
We have Mega, we have Marissa, and we have Rachel, right? Mega is our, okay. So we're in agreement that Mega is, so Mega, you will have to do a little. Yeah, you might have to do a little improving. I may have lied to you. All right, so if we're looking at the 4Ds, how would we want to intervene in this situation? And think about how long have y'all known each other as colleagues?
In this scenario?
Yep, in the scenario.
At least a year.
At least a year. All right, so at least a year in. Someone's clearly known Janice for a couple years. So at least a year-long colleagues. So think about that and how they're all on that. We'll say that they're same level of work. No one is each other's boss. They just work on the same team together. So how would we want to intervene in this situation? Yes. Distract?
Combo into like, I'd like to separate those two, the mean girls, and talk to them separately.
I like that you said mean girls. Mean girls happens in offices. Not okay.
They were kind of building on each other. And
Yeah.
It's like, it would be better if they weren't
Okay, so I like that. So we said a distract and a delay. So a delay will allow for the separation of the two mean girls, right? So if we're doing a distract, what does distract sound like for Mega?
Okay.
Mega, okay. What does distract sound? Let's throw out some quick lines for Mega.
Speaking of tea, I'm thirsty.
Sorry, are you making?
Wait, I heard, speaking of tea, I'm thirsty. What's that over
Straight
here?
up, that works because I always have to pee.
Wait, someone said I have to pee? Yeah. Okay. Who has to pee? Okay. So you can.
I'm not gonna get personal about that.
All right. So I think we're good with using who has to pee. You good with that? So say it however you would say that you need to go to the restroom. And say that wherever you feel that it goes best in there, and however you all want to continue acting it out is fine. Okay? So just start from with hi, you must have read Janice's email.
Ha, you must have read the email from Janice.
How does she expect to be out for 2 weeks when we're still onboarding the new client? Personal time doesn't even exist during times like this.
You know what? I need a potty break.
Girl, I'll join you. I got to pee too.
All right. That was a good one. Okay. So we're going to follow that up with delay, right? Because we said delay would also be good. So I'm going to say that since Rachel came with Mega to the restroom, that might be a good time to go ahead, chat while we're washing hands or fixing hair, or whatever it might be in the restroom. So what can that conversation sound like? Yes. Yeah. So like, hey, how can I talking with Mega and Rachel are talking, they're like, wow, there's so much going on with this project. Maybe we should, figure out how I can help you, how we can help Janice, like figure out, make sure she's feeling ready and on board to be able to go ahead and take her 2 weeks.
Put a coverage plan in place.
Yep.
Expand the time out.
Let's put some time on our calendar to figure out the coverage plan. Love it. I saw another hand in the back. Someone's hand pop up. I know I saw a hand. Don't play. Okay. All right. Anything else that people would add into this delay? Yes.
Maybe try to bring back some empathy of like, I've been in a situation where like I was super busy, but like my family really needed me. It's just to
Yeah.
bring it back to like you never know what to bring maybe like an element of surprise.
Yeah.
Or something like bringing in like doubt of like questioning why we're questioning it.
Yeah, so bring in that, the empathy to it. I think that's always helpful because empathy saves lives. It really, really does. And also being able to say like, hey, I've been there before. Like, let's be able to, support and celebrate Janice as much as possible. Did I see a hand? Mm-hmm.
Also like bringing in some positivity into the situation.
Yeah.
So she may be out, but we're a really strong team and we've got this.
Yeah, pumping up your team. Janice might be out. I'm sure she's going to have a great plan set in place, but we're an awesome team. It's going to go great. We got this. Remember last year when we got that award? Yeah, don't forget. Pump people up in that way. I'm not going to make y'all act this out. So let's give a round of applause for our people. Just set those on the seats. Thank you so much. All right. So as you saw, people had so many different ways, right, of being able to intervene in this situation. You do whatever. Is it rolling? Here, I'll take them. I'll put them on the table. There's so many ways to be able to intervene in situations. And so you do what feels right for you, right? I do these all the time, and I've been doing them for years, and I still don't do direct. I still don't, and I am not ashamed because it's awkward for me. I'm that person who's driving home or in the shower, and I'm like, dang it, that's what I should have said. But you can still say it because I like to say that with delay, you get a year. It's like a thank you card. Honestly, so the last time I did this, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you know what? A month ago, one of my friends from growing up sent me a message in Instagram. And I grew up in a 99% white town. Me and my sister and this girl, Amy, only black, brown people in our class besides 3 other boys. She apologized for something she said in freaking 5th grade. I was like, girl, I love you. I know your heart. Let that go. But I was like, I was really glad that that was on her heart to apologize, right? Because at the time, I probably was sitting on a boat by myself on an island, like, well, thanks for that, like, making me feel othered again as a little black girl, you know, like running around doing whatever. So it helps. All right, so are there questions? Because I'm sure this probably brought up a lot for you all. See, I already saw a hand. Don't y'all love my gifts? I know. Yes, question.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, in this sketch, it seemed like Mega actually tried to say something to like direct the conversation about, hey, she'll probably make sure we're all fine. So what was, I guess, like, what wasn't effective about that? Or like, how could it have been more effective in being direct?
Sometimes people just don't catch on. That's honestly what it is. Like, sometimes you are probably being direct or trying to revert, and people want to stay in their messy. And they are not getting that that is not okay. And I think that that's why I have a harder time being direct, because I've been through so many situations where my directness was like not caught on to. And so you can keep trying, like that's fine, but sometimes that trying can be draining, right? And you're just like, forget it. I'm gonna do it another way. But there was nothing wrong with the way that Mega was trying to interrupt that, right? And I tried to put that in the lines a little bit of being like, okay, like a little bit harder, but yeah, sometimes it's just people aren't picking up. And so it's like, do I waste my energy on this, or do I still like you in 30 seconds and talk to you about it later? Other question. Yes, I got 40 seconds. So I'm taking your hand because I saw yours first.
I have a question about delegates, and I want to make sure that I don't think it would escalate, but I've had situations where people wanted to talk to someone else, but they were afraid of the consequences
Yep.
to the offender. We'll call it. What do you recommend? I mean, what's your thinking about that?
Thank you for that question. All right, a lot of people are scared to say something because they don't want to offend the offender, or they don't want to hurt people's feelings. A great way to go into this, especially if it's a colleague or a family member or a friend, is going, I know who you are as a person, and I know you're awesome, and I know you wouldn't want to hurt anyone, but I'm telling you what you just said made me feel so uncomfortable, and I know you wouldn't want anyone else to feel that way. Like, let them know you know they're a good person, even if they're not a good person. Lie. We've been improvising, just pretend, get your Sasha Fierce on in the mirror and be like, oh, you're such a good person. You're such a good, and then go and talk to them. But really re-emphasizing to people that you know that that was not their intent, but saying that your impact was negative is always the best way to go, because then people will be like, oh, okay, you're not like ambushing me and trying to tell me that I'm racist or that I'm whatever. You're just are my friend who is trying to tell me that like I may have messed up. So I always say go with the empathy, go with the I know you're a caring and nice person. Sandwich it however you need to, but usually if you lead with I know you're great, people will take it better. So these are my shout outs. My time is up. You all were awesome. Thank you.